Hey, I'm Laura, a registered dietitian with a specialist interest in gut health and IBS, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the Gut Loving podcast. This is a podcast which aims to increase awareness of IBS and the tools and therapies that can help you manage and improve symptoms. So, hello and welcome back. This is season 4, episode 6 of the Gut Loving podcast, and we are delighted that you've tuned in. Hello to any new listeners, and to our loyal and old listeners, welcome back. We are here today for a final episode of the year. That doesn't kind of quite possible, but it's true. And Huelya's here with me today for this final episode. Hello, Huelya.
Oh, hi, how are you, Laura? Long time no speak.
I mean, it's a crazy time, isn't it, for everybody at the moment?
Yes, absolutely. For anyone who doesn't know, so we are in the UK. I'm in London, and 2 days ago, our Prime Minister announced even stricter rules. So we can't really see anyone over Christmas unless, for outside your own home, unless they belong to your support bubble, and you have to be in a single household, and then you have some sort of freedom to see another person. So I'm in that kind of situation. So I'm living alone, and but I do have a support bubble. So I'm super looking forward to Christmas dinner on the 25th. And so I've been keeping myself busy with DIY projects that I wanted to do, because now I've got a break from work. And if I didn't have those DIY projects lined up, I would have maybe I would have started reading a book or something. But pretty much we are all in our 4 walls at the moment. So, but trying to make the best out of it.
So I hope wherever you are keeping well. And I think the situation is pretty difficult globally, but I know that there are definitely places where it's more challenging, and certainly this is going to be a very different Christmas for a lot of people. I won't be seeing my family, which is really unusual. It might sound strange, but at the age of I'm rapidly heading towards 40, and actually, I think apart from sort of once or twice, I always normally spend Christmas with my family. So, but for reasons, keeping everyone safe and with the current restrictions, we will all be staying in our own homes. So it's definitely going to be a bit different, but we'll try and make the best of it. And, I heard actually, I think yesterday, that Zoom have removed all the sort of limits on calls, so people can have sort of continuous video chats on Christmas Day. So a really nice thing that I hope will help a lot of people. So on the festive side of things, we decided that today's episode would be focused on Christmas and just sort of chatting about some tips that can, I say, help you survive the Christmas period. I guess what we mean is for somebody who is following a low FODMAP diet, or somebody who has got IBS, this can be a time of the year where your symptoms can flare up. Lots of aspects of Christmas, and we'll talk about some of them, can be symptom triggers. And so we thought we would do this episode today to hopefully give you some ideas of steps that you might be able to take to help keep your symptoms sort of more manageable over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's a special type of period, and even if we are saying Christmas, this can apply to anything, any gatherings in the future, or anything that is not Christmas. But particularly today we are focusing on Christmas, so whoever doesn't normally celebrate that, but you could also take these tips and tricks, let's say, or the ways around how to manage it best for, let's say, any other event. I don't know, like a big birthday party or anything that you celebrate in your culture as well. Don't take it just as a Christmas episode, but we are obviously, because it's kind of relevant, it's a time of year, we have thought it would be a nice episode to talk about.
That's right. And we actually we realised that we're just literally bumping up against Christmas now. So just a couple of days left before the festive season starts. We hope it's helpful. Or, perhaps if you're listening to this between Christmas and New Year, it might help you sort of planning forwards for New Year's. Or in fact, if you've sort of got any holidays or celebrations, coming up after Christmas perhaps instead. So should we get...
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm going to give some tips around what I would normally advise as a dietitian for people sort of entering the festive period. And Huelya will, as always, give her kind of insights from the perspective of someone who's got IBS and has had many Christmases dealing with symptoms and what works and what doesn't. So my first top tip is around food. And my best advice to you is to plan what you're going to eat. So just like when you start out on the low FODMAP diet, planning is your biggest ally. And I think that applies to Christmas or festive periods too, because it's actually it will help you to enjoy meals with your family or your support bubble or whoever else is around you without over worrying about symptoms. So it can be quite anxiety provoking if you know that there's lots of foods that you won't be able to eat or you're not sure if you'll be able to eat. And so the best thing to do is, if you can, is to sit down and take some time to plan out your Christmas menu and so not just Christmas Day, but the days either side of it as well, and what you're actually going to be eating for those days. And it doesn't mean that everybody has to eat low FODMAP as well, but if you work out a menu, you can then sort of take a look at it and decide and sort of think about what things you might need to change. So fortunately, at Christmas, there are a fair few foods that are low FODMAP. So, for example, if all fish and sort of meats without any, say, coatings or sort of crumbs on them are low FODMAP. There's lots of vegetables, like Christmas vegetables, like carrots and parsnips, which you can include as well. And then you can just switch in things like, instead of maybe a honey dressing on your carrots, you could have a maple syrup dressing. So it is possible to do, but I think planning ahead and actually sitting down and working it out is my first sort of top tip. I don't know what you find you do here.
This is absolutely like if I had never heard an advice from a proper dietitian like you in this field anyway, I would have probably for myself since years, I would just kind of see what I really enjoy eating and what would be like kind of appropriate for that special day. I would, for example, bring, because I am not a vegan or vegetarian, I would have meat cuts, I would have my hard cheeses, I would have, olives without garlic, I would bring a few things if I'm going somewhere. If I actually do host an event like that myself, I would pretty much, not even telling anyone, but I would cook everything low FODMAP and nobody would even notice because it would taste awesome somehow. I believe, so, instead of garlic, I would use garlic infused olive oil without any bits in it. I would bring like hard cheeses or anything that I really like to eat that I know I don't react to. So if I go somewhere, I would obviously tell the host that I am planning to bring a few things that I would like to, to eat, if that's okay. I mean, sometimes they're like, oh no, let me get it. But then I say, look, I just say, I've got it at home. I would just like to bring it so that they're just a little bit warm. So I don't rock up with like a whole menu and they will be surprised to say, look, I was responsible for this. But most people, they don't mind. So olives or, anything that you really know and like to eat, that you won't kind of have a problem afterwards. It's relatively easy snack-wise. You can also say, okay, I'm going to cook something up that I know and bring that. I think, that's how I would go about it. Yeah.
And I think it is so important to make sure there are things that you can enjoy. So obviously, if you are following a low FODMAP diet, you might aim to have the majority of your sort of meals aligning with the low FODMAP diet, but still try to make sure that you have things that you can enjoy and that there are snacks and treats around the house that you can have as well.
Yeah,
as well
exactly.
as think a bit beyond main meals. I know in my house, then there's normally sort of both, there's fruits and nuts and olives and also chocolates around the house. So do make sure that you've got some of those, what I would call nice extras as well. You mentioned a few of those that were FODMAP friendly, but things like peanuts, hard cheeses, olives, smoked salmon is a great one. And you can have that with sort of gluten-free crackers, clementines, fresh berries, and dark chocolate as well. So make sure make sure that you've got a good snack list. And also, as you're saying, if you are visiting friends or family, have a chat with them beforehand about the menu. And if you're going for dinner, have a chat to your host. And as you said, you can either take maybe a main dish with you, or you can take a side dish that you know that you can eat. So if, for example, they're cooking maybe fish is the main course, but you're not sure whether you'll be able to eat the side dishes, take one with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Is if you're offered something that you can't eat. So we do this maybe it's particularly British, but tendency of not wanting to upset anybody. So and say yes to eating things. But if you are offered something that you can't eat, or because it's an irritant, or you're not sure whether it's got ingredients in that you that might upset you, just be honest. It's the best thing. So don't feel obligated to eat it. I think we sometimes do that. We feel that we can't upset the host, but actually,
it's a cross-cultural thing, I guess. I have seen it in many cultures, including mine. I'm like German and also Turkish. I was born in Germany to a Turkish family, so it's a thing. It's hard to say no if somebody has put their love and their time into it, their passion, to then refuse it. But if you kind of prop that properly, then just to kind of ask for their understanding, then you might feel it's easier without kind of having the awkwardness of maybe offending them, so to say, as you say, Laura.
Yeah, and I think even if if you're sort of going to a buffet or something, not quite sure what's there, taking a dish with you will never be, no one's ever going to refuse to have an extra dish at the table. Give you that bit of confidence that that there is something that you can eat as well, and you're not going to be sort of left on the sidelines all night, or sort of end up eating something which might have symptoms. So plan ahead for your meals. So plan your menu. Make sure you include things that you can enjoy, which are low in FODMAP or tolerated well by you. And if you are visiting friends or family or going out for dinner, have a chat to them beforehand about the menu. And if you can or you need to, take a side dish or take some things with you, so you know that you've got something to eat. And then my next tip is to do with food as well. And the tip is to spread out the FODMAP load. So what I was going to say about this is that I've sort of alluded to the fact that it's really important to include some of the foods that you enjoy as well. So if you're mainly planning your meals around lower FODMAP choices, so for example, maybe you're having turkey and low FODMAP vegetables, you might choose to include some small portions of some higher FODMAP foods. The way that you could do this, or to sort of check the portion size, would be to use the Monash FODMAP app, which I think we've got linked in the show notes. So this will tell you can look up a food and it will tell you what portion size is low, medium, or high in FODMAPs, and some foods are high in FODMAPs that even a small portion size. But it might be that a favourite food, you can include maybe a couple of spoonfuls rather than a full portion, or just, sometimes a taste of something is actually enough to put a smile on your face and make the meal more enjoyable. So do try to include some of your favourite foods, even if they are in smaller portions. But the thing to remember is to try and limit the number of triggers you have in one meal. So how FODMAPs work, or sometimes you might have heard of an expression called FODMAP stacking. And this basically refers to the number of sort of FODMAPs you can have in a meal without it causing symptoms. So whilst it's fine to have lots of green portions of foods, sometimes when we have foods that are sort of amber or red, and we have 2 or 3 of those in one meal, that can make it much more likely to have symptoms. So if you are including foods that are higher in FODMAPs, or maybe sort of amber or red on their portion sizes, try to just stick to sort of one in a meal. So you can maybe have one at breakfast and one at lunch and one at dinner, rather than having 3 in the same meal. And that way you'll your FODMAP load and you'll be less likely to experience symptoms. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that was something that I wanted to ask you since forever, and then now you're actually naming it FODMAP stacking, right? That's brilliant, because I never knew. I wanted a template, because that I'm not only I'm trying a lot of things. my favorite thing is like, I can't probably say the brand, but, I have started to eat every week or so, like a chocolate kind of thing. It's high FODMAP, but it's not triggering me at all. So I have that every week or so. I mean, not every day. I would eat like one pack every day if you asked me. But, I have started, as you know, to introduce high FODMAPs into my diet. And that was really what I wanted to know. So actually, breakfast, lunch, dinner, if I spread it out to introduce like maybe breakfast and lunch and dinner, different kind of high FODMAPs to the limit, then I am like more confident that I'm putting enough nutritions or the variety of different things into my body, including higher FODMAP foods, because I'm always worried about that. I really want to introduce higher FODMAP foods, but in a safe way. And this is really, really good for me, actually. I'm going to try it from today as well. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks, Laura.
No problem. So that, as you said, it's if you have them sort of spread across different meals, and actually you'll be less likely to experience symptoms, because hopefully the FODMAP load that's entering your gut is more spaced.
Yeah.
So some people find that quite helpful. And again, if you are using the Monash FODMAP app, you'll see that some foods are green even at very large servings. So having lots of those in one go should not be a problem. It's more so it's the foods that have got amber or red servings, or that become amber or red in larger servings. So if you were to have, I'm trying to think of an example, but say both sweet potato and avocado, you can have a small portion of those and be at low FODMAP. But if as the portion sizes get bigger, they have more FODMAPs in them. And so if you had 2 of those in one meal, you'd be more likely to experience symptoms than if you had them in separate meals. So if you had breakfast and say sweet potato at lunch. So do include some of these foods that you enjoy, but try to sort of maybe limit the number you have in one meal and spread them out to manage symptoms.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, so my next tip is now moving away from food onto alcohol. And it's not a call to avoid alcohol, but it's just to be mindful with alcohol. So about 1/3 of people with IBS find that alcohol makes their symptoms worse. And I think when it's in combination with rich food at Christmas, it can really upset IBS sensitive tummies. So alcohol is in large quantities a gut irritant, so it can aggravate heartburn and it can aggravate loose stools as well. But symptoms, you're more likely to get symptoms when you have lots of alcohol at once, or sort of if you have it on an empty stomach as well. So my best advice is to have a mindful approach with alcohol. So at Christmas, most of us like to enjoy a drink, but rather than sometimes we might open a bottle and think, I'll just finish the rest of it, or we might have, just as a sort of normal habit, is to pour ourselves a large glass or something, or to have a double measure. So have a think about your portion sizes with alcohol. So could you have a small glass of wine instead of a large glass? Could you have a single measure of spirits with a mixer instead of a double? And the other tip is to try having alcohol with a meal rather than by itself, because that can again help with sort of symptom control.
That's another top tip. I've got one for you and the listeners, Laura. So now that I'm going on the 25th, so for Christmas Day, I'm going to have. I'm not hosting myself, so I'm going to see my support bubble, and there, they have these smaller wine bottles. They are 185 milliliters. So actually I know that I'm the only one who is going to drink red wine. So what came to my mind is to restrict my alcohol intake in terms of, we're talking a gut irritant here. And, there will be a lots of food that, I might kind of go a little more over my limit in terms of high FODMAPs. I don't know yet. I'm trying not to, but, you never know. So in order to limit the risk, I thought I'll just bring 2 small bottles. I mean, we are going to be together for, pretty much a long period of time. So I thought if I just bring 2 of the small bottles over the course of the evening, I think that should be enough. But if I brought like one big bottle, I don't know how much I would drink of that. Probably more than I wanted to. So I thought that was a little trick that I wanted to share.
Yeah, and I think I think buying things in sort of ready done portions actually can be really helpful. And certainly, I think I know that I've got lots of beautiful big wine glasses,
Yeah.
but they hold a lot of wine, those wine
Yes,
glasses.
exactly.
I remember once when I went to, it was sort of an educational event for healthcare professionals around alcohol, and they asked you to pour what you felt a sort of standard glass of wine was into quite a large glass. And predictably, as you might sort of guess where the story is going, lots of people poured what didn't look excessive in the glass, but actually when it was measured, sort of, 250 to 300 milliliters.
Wow.
A large glass is 250 mils and a
Wow. Yeah.
glass is 5. And actually, if you have spent any time in France or perhaps other places in Europe, I'm always really pleasantly surprised when I go to France that they serve wine in 125 mils.
Yes.
That's a standard glass over there. And actually, you rather than sort of gulping into the wine, it does make you slow down a bit and just sort of really savor it. So still use those beautiful glasses, but maybe just out of interest is just experiment with sort of, measuring out a small glass of wine and pouring it into a glass, actually seeing what that looks like.
True. Yeah, that's true.
And definitely with, although I was about to say this is a Spanish thing to have red wine for lemonade as well, but also with, if you're having white wine and you're just having a small glass, you can obviously elongate it with some soda water and just make that into a longer drink as well. And actually, if you're having, say, a single spirit, you can still, put your mixer in, put some lime in and still make it look really nice. It's just obviously going to be a bit less strong. And less alcohol means you're less likely to have a hangover. So there are also...
Exactly, that's the added benefit of it.
Okay, so yeah, being mindful with alcohol. So the next tip is not to do with food or drink, but it's to do with stress levels. So in fact, the whole of this year has been incredibly stressful for, I think, everybody in different ways, whether that's been because work's been, your work life has been turned upside down, whether it's because you've had the children at home and you've had to sort of manage childcare amongst the normal everyday sort of demands of life, whether you have been affected directly by COVID or, you've lost somebody in your life this year. So this year has been really stressful. And I think coming up to Christmas, Christmas can be joyful, but it can also be stressful. We are, we may not be around our families this year, and that might be quite sad. Or we may be around our families, and equally that can be stressful.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And it's also really easy to put lots of pressure on yourself at Christmas. And I know that I've still got 3 or 4 days of work to go, hopefully 3 now. And I've, been sort of giving myself a bit of a hard time about the fact that I haven't wrapped presents yet. And I wanted to make food gifts this year and I haven't do that. And actually, I just thought today, you sort of putting too much pressure on yourself. And actually, the most important thing is that you have some time to relax and enjoy. So I guess the reason why I'm saying all this is because stress in itself can have an effect on the gut. So if you've not listened to our episodes already, we've got plenty of episodes kind of which go into this in more detail, but effectively what's going on in your brain is felt by your gut. So when you're stressed, your gut feels it too. And when you're anxious, your gut feels it too. And therefore, if you are experiencing sort of lots of stress or upset over Christmas, that can independently affect your gut. So I guess what I'm trying to say is make sure that you plan in some downtime over Christmas, avoid overcommitting too much, and build in some rest and relaxation and don't add too much pressure.
And I would like to add something that is particularly, I have felt this since forever, kind of. When it comes to Christmas, and it's revolving around food, and the centerpiece of the celebration is actually a table with lots of tasty food on it. And also, let's kind of forget about Christmas for a second. But you could actually, as we said in the beginning of this episode, you could apply it to, let's say, New Year's Eve, or a birthday party, or I don't know, like a wedding or anything, or anything where you're invited to a dinner party. So I always get extremely stressed when people say, "Oh, let me know what you can't have, and I'll make sure that you're fine. That I cater for you." So it's a big problem, because the thing is that then you start doing the ping pong. So you try to say, "I want to bring my own thing. Don't worry about it," and the host, with all their love and passion to cook this food up, they spend entire days preparing, they look up recipes, they ask their moms how to cook stuff, it's like, it's a passion, and then you come in and say, "Oh, don't worry about all that, I'm bringing my own thing, I'm rolling my own show here." So it's a big kind of, it's never have I experienced this without being a problem, because then the host comes back and says, "Oh, just kind of give me a list," and then you're trying to explain. I'm kind of reacting to 1,000,001 things. I even don't know. And then they're like, "Oh, let me know, like, what is it?" Like, and then they go into detail. I bless them, bless them. I love them. And then they go into detail and say, "Okay, tell me what it is." And then you're like, "Okay, so let me bring my own thing. And then it will be okay for both of us, because it's very complicated." "Oh, don't worry. Like, what is it in particular? Is it garlic?" And then they go back, like the ping pong starts. So until you get the host who doesn't really know what your condition is, or tries to understand what it is, it's a lot of, I get very stressed about this, So what I've done once, so we are in Turkey, and I've got a huge family, and I said to my dad and to my stepmom, I said, "Guys, can you please help me?" So we were going to an auntie, and she loves to cook; she's amazing. And I said, "Can you guys help me to prep my auntie to say, I don't want her to hear it from me. I want to hear her to hear it from you. You're the authority. Can you tell her that I've got like this kind of thing going on, try to explain it how you see it, and that she kind of hears it from you." So what happened in a nutshell was that I had 100% brilliant, like super amazing low FODMAP food on the table, because my stepmom cooked the food with my auntie, and they kind of went shopping and stuff together, and all of that. So can you believe that? Like, so I applied this little trick, but it's just a little anecdote to say through what kind of psychological terror I really call it that, because you don't want to disappoint the host, and you don't want to create more work for them, but then you see it spiraling into like a backwards and forwards. It's the plea to anyone listening who doesn't have IBS and has like a partner or friend or family or children who have IBS, then just let them do their own thing and bring it to the table. We would be so much happier to have like a smooth kind of transition into like the preparation phase to the dinner table like that.
And I think even if has indicated that they're going to do something, there's no harm in still taking something yourself,
Yeah, that's right, Laura. That's true, actually. You can just say, "Look, I just I don't want you to lie," but you can say, I had this at home, so I just brought it along. So you have it there. What will they do?
Freeze it, and if they've made something which is suitable for you, great. And if not, then that you've got something on hand. But be honest, put your boundary down, and say, "Actually, no, you know what, I'd prefer to cook, and it's absolutely fine. I'm going to do them anyway." And just I guess make sure that you're looking out for yourself. And if you do, obviously, as you said, sometimes it can sort of, everything seems to focus around food and drink, doesn't it, at Christmas, which can be stressful. So, make sure you have to track yourself if you're finding that it's temperatures are rising. Even if you just go for a quick walk around the block, sometimes it can just allow you time to sort of diffuse or gather yourself. And if you find that you're hiding in the toilet because you need you need a bit of time out, then try some deep breathing exercises, because when we can it's quite easy to sort of spiral into a place of stress, and when you find yourself sort of spiraling down and into that place, maybe other kind of signs are sort of, if your shoulders are hunched and you find that your breathing's got quite shallow, is actually don't lock yourself in the toilet and actually do a bit of a deep breathing exercise. So we can add a link in the show notes, but the Headspace, they've got a web page which has just got a 1-minute breathing exercise, and actually just by breathing deeply, so breathing into your belly and just taking some deep breaths for a minute, can actually help to switch your body out of that fight or flight mode and into the rest and digest. So if you are, even a minute of breathing can actually really make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So lastly, what I wanted to say is, having your armour also a flare-up care plan. And, despite your best intentions, even if you plan your menu and, you chatted to your friends about, making a sort of IBS-friendly menu, you're mindful with alcohol and you've sort of tried to stay as relaxed as possible, flare-ups do happen, and they can happen despite your best intentions. And, if it does happen, try to sort of prepare for it by making sure you've got some things to help you through. So you might have a little care pack, particularly if you're going to stay at a friend or family member's house. So with some comfortable clothes. So definitely don't have the tight tights on, or the sort of trousers at Christmas. They're never comfortable, but particularly when you're having a flare up.
Exactly.
Make sure you take some sort of clothes with a nice soft waistband that, are really comfortable. If you do use medication, so if you need to use Imodium, or you have a laxative that you normally use, or you use Buscopan or something for sort of spasms, then make sure you have some of those that you take with you. Some people find peppermint tea really easy, or some other tea helpful, or some other teas. Pack those with you, and try to rest and remember that it will pass. Which can feel disappointing in the moment, but what I hear sort of time and time again from people is that flare-ups sort of really leave you feeling exhausted. So do give yourself space and don't expect yourself to be able to jump back into activities straight away.
Yeah, and I use these peppermint capsules. I really like them. They're when I have some sort of a flare-up and I know that I'm a little bit trapped, I can't really be in the comfort of my home, I just have them, because then, as far as I know, they are natural. They are not like medication that you have to ask your doctor for. So, and peppermint tea definitely. And also on Christmas Day, I was planning to, because we are not going out anywhere, and I haven't dressed up or dressed nicely since forever, like since almost a year now. And I thought, I have these beautiful tights that I really want to wear, and like this amazing top that's everything super tight, by the way. And I was like, I'm not going to wear those. I would love to wear the fancy clothes for the special occasion. But, the thing is that the fact that you're actually sitting all the time, and most of the time we will be sitting at the dinner table or maybe on the sofas. But to be honest, even sitting is, I don't know if this is scientific, and I don't want to say anything wrong, but, even that agitates me sometimes, where I cannot move. So basically you're trapped in your seat. And so sometimes that kind of has a negative impact on causing a little flare up or discomfort, So I'm gonna actually think about what else I can wear that is a little bit more suitable for sitting down for a longer period of time, that doesn't really trap my belly. So I totally agree.
Yeah, no, I mean, even I don't have IBS, but I definitely have worn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like too tight clothes, but obviously if you're wearing a skirt or something which is, relatively, it's close fitting, and then when you're sat down, and obviously once you've eaten a big meal, you do feel fuller. And actually, yeah, you're right, it can be really uncomfortable. And I think just, even a little bit like that, thinking about that can help to make you more comfortable. And just some last couple of things to think about is that having not maybe directly after dinner, but having a bit of a walk after dinner, so leaving it an hour and then having a gentle stroll can actually be really helpful. And also trying, over Christmas, we do end up eating more and eating later than normal, and both of those things are completely but eating really late at night can be a bit of a symptom trigger for some people, because when you go to bed, your tummy is still digesting, and so when you sort of lay back, sometimes that can cause heartburn and discomfort. So if you can, try to leave sort of a few hours before your last meal and going to bed, and that just gives you digestive system the chance to digest your food and let it leave your stomach before you rest. So that's it. I think that's all my tips. So included in that planning ahead, you can also have, as I've said, thinking about planning ahead and taking a bit of a care kit with you, and planning ahead and thinking about your outfits and making sure that it's comfortable, and planning your menu as well, and making sure you've got foods that you can enjoy. Packing FODMAP friendly options. So if you're visiting family or friends, taking something that you can have. And again, just a reminder that if you're offered something that you can't eat, be honest, don't feel obligated to eat it just to please someone else. Might take a bit of practicing saying no. But
yes, definitely. Yeah.
Be mindful
definitely.
So try Huelya's tip on maybe buying some smaller sized, some kind of ready sized portion, or try the wine glass trick as well. If you are having sort of foods that are a bit more triggering for you, either because they're rich or perhaps they're higher in FODMAPs, try spreading them out across your meals rather than having them all in one go. Make sure you build in some time out for yourself. So remember that Christmas can be stressful, and it's absolutely okay to feel really annoyed and pissed off at the situation at the moment. So we're all experiencing kind of just feeling at the end of our tether. So, make sure you build in some time for you to practice things that help you feel relaxed, whether that's reading or, movement or yoga or whatever it might be with you, or just perhaps, getting on the phone with a friend. And if you are feeling really stressed, just practicing some deep breathing can actually really help to relax you as well. And most of all, enjoy. I think that's it. I don't have anything else.
Yeah. So the last word from my side is the ultimate pro tip. The ultimate pro tip. Here it comes. Just host the dinner party yourself. Cook everything low FODMAP. Nobody would tell the difference, because by the time that you've listened to season 4 of the Gut Loving podcast, you probably picked up here and there, what you can replace with what. And also the Monash app is fantastic. So, as Laura, as you say, glaze with maple syrup, not with honey, etc. So quick wins. So that's all from our side today.
So wherever you are in the world, we hope you have a really wonderful festive season, if that's something that you're celebrating. I hope that you find some enjoyment amongst what has been a very chaotic year. We would both like to thank you for continuing to listen to the podcast, and we hope that it has brought you some enjoyment this year and sort of helped you along your journey. And we look forward to continuing with season 4 in the new year. But until then, have a wonderful Christmas, and we'll see you on the other side.
See you soon.
So that brings us to the end of today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it and took something useful from our conversation. If you did enjoy it and are enjoying the series, we would absolutely love if you could give us a review. It really helps other listeners to find us and encourages us to keep going with the show. And if you are really enjoying the episodes and series, why not hit subscribe so that new episodes land in your podcast inbox without you needing to remember to check in. So thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to you tuning in again next time. Take care.